I started treating my music production, my sound designs, in the same way that I treat my friends, my family, as if they are alive, I gave them names, those presets of synthesis that I used to do. I gave them names and they were like families, brothers and sisters. The ability to observe my own life, but not from the point of view of the hero of the story, rather from the point of view of the one who writes the script, right? Sometimes we call it the higher self, or we can give it many names. It's not a new understanding. It has always been that way. Understanding that we are all in this together, we are all one life, one nature. It's easier to connect to one another and to stay humble.
Join the journey, stay for a while.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of KohPhanCast, the official podcast of Koh Island. And this week with me, Ron Symbolico. Starting 13 to 15 years ago, Symbolico is a bass artist, bass, Psytrance. He's been doing all over the place, Boom Festival, Ozora, all the festivals that you can think about, through music, through art, through connectiveness, through human emotions in this kind of level. This guy is so wholesome, and the conversation we had was so amazing. I cannot wait for you to see it. Guys, before we start the conversation, we have a movement here. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it with your friends, write in the comment section what you thought about this conversation, and let's get into it. KohPhanCast. Enjoy the episode, guys. Oron, I want to thank you so much for being here with me. Those were special couple days for me. You being here and a lot of big things are happening. So I want to thank you for being part of the last few days. There is something to you. Something about your energy is wholesome, is secure of itself. It's assuring. It's just, I don't know what it is, but whenever someone comes and have this kind of energy, it feels like we are coming from the same place. When someone spends some time discovering themselves, you can see them also being able to dive into others in the same kind of way. So thank you for sharing the perspective, and thank you for everything that you've done for the music community, for the bass community, for the Hummus community, which we're going to talk about everything. And for the people out there that does not know you, you want to give me like 30, 40 seconds?
Yes. So first of all, thank you for having me as well. It's an honor to be here in your house, your studio, in this island. So my name is Ron. I'm also known as Symbolico, my musical project. It's a modern, psychedelic, down-tempo bass, Psytrance. I'm not sure yet, but it's modern, psychedelic, electronic music, basically. I've been working with this project around, I think, 13 years already. Yeah, that's the basics.
Pretty much it, huh?
Yeah.
13 years diving into music. And of course, there are a lot of layers to it, but let's start from the get-go. What made you even jump into music? Like, what was your introduction 13 years ago to music?
So my introduction to music, and particularly electronic music, was way before the vision of Symbolico came into being. It happened to me when I was only 12 years old. We're talking 1997, 1998. I got introduced to Psytrance music when it was very new, very underground and unknown. I'm speaking so much unknown. Infected Mushroom were unknown. Yeah. They had maybe one album. They just got the second album, Classical Mushroom, out. I would give people a listen of Infected Mushroom, and they would tell you, who are they? The sounds like the arts. Yeah. What is this? Little did we know what was about to happen in our world, in the electronic music scene. So this was when I got introduced by my neighbor, who was my older brother's good friend. They were about the same age. He introduced me to this kind of music, and me, as an ADHD kid, got fascinated by this genre. I didn't know much about music at all, but those melodies and those rhythms really bought me and bought my heart. I remember listening to music, to electronic music, especially Psytrance, and it sent me into my own imagination. I felt as if I'm tripping, even though I didn't know what is tripping all about. I didn't know what are drugs, nothing. But I was like already in La La Land, listening to this music. I used a Discman. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I still was there. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so I just put some music on my Discman. I was walking in the streets, listening to, I remember, Infected Mushroom and Hallucinogen, Sun Project, X-Dream, Juno Reactor, all of those dinosaurs, right? From back of the days. And beside the fact that I was an ADHD kid, I came from a family of technologists. My mother is a graphic designer. My father used to work also with computers, with IBM and Intel. So I had technology in my house in a very early age. So I thought to myself, I need to make those beats and those sounds. I didn't know how. I didn't know nothing. I knew nothing about music production. I didn't even call this type of thing music. I called it trance, or psytrance. So yeah, I started like that with a DOS program called Impulse Tracker, very old one. And this is how I started, basically. And I found a secret area in Infected Mushrooms webpage. By the way, internet was rare back in the days, right? But they already had a webpage, and they had a secret area, which in that area you could find some photos from their studio and some files that you can execute inside Impulse Tracker. So they used to work with Impulse Tracker back in the days, even before Infected Mushroom, in their early projects. So I had something to begin with, so I had some projects to function, to put inside my own computer and see how they did what they did and learn from that, This is how I started.
And
basically
from there, there was a moment, I remember me listening to the first track I ever listened to. And I'm sure with your case, it's the same. You had this one track, not even specific, but just the rhythm that connected you to the source of where creation is coming from. And do you remember the moment you told yourself, okay, this is it. This is what I want to do. This is my passion. And this is probably what I'm going to pursue for the rest of my life.
Yeah. So despite the fact that I got introduced to Psytrance in that particular day in which I told now, it took a few years until I decided I want to take it to be more than a hobby in my life. Okay, so back in the days I used to do music or electronic music as a hobby, and growing up I actually practiced martial arts, particularly capoeira. I learned everything about Brazilian culture, I was sure I'm going to be a capoeira master, and it was, I think, 2007. Then I flew to Brazil just to deepen my root in the capoeira land, of Brazil. And I was sure that this is what I'm going to do there, but the opposite happened. I actually found myself more into the music, more into the festivals, experimenting with psychedelic, psychoactive drugs for the first time and having a psychedelic experience, and returning from Brazil back to Israel. This is where I've decided that now I want to focus on that, on music, on making people happy and open their mind and open their heart through music. So then from 2007 till 2010, around 3 years, this was the time when I practiced more professional programs and studio, and I actually understood what is a studio. Before that, I was just doing things.
Twist knobs.
Yeah, I was working intuitively. And after that, I learned more about music production and the whole basic of it. And the vision of Symbolico began to develop and really formulate around 2010, 2011.
And how do you find yourself when you're starting, like you say, like Juno Reactor, Extreme, Union Jack, all those kind of vibe? How did it shape slowly into becoming what it is that is Symbolico, which is a completely unique thing, because there are not many projects that has this kind of sound to it.
Yeah.
So the road from Psytrance to this kind of vibe, can you elaborate a little bit?
Yeah. It's a good question, actually, because even though I really loved Psytrance, I actually loved dancing a lot and really participating, being in the dance floor and just releasing everything that is stuck inside.
Yeah.
You know how it feels, right?
Yeah.
But trying to do the Psytrance the way I wanted, it always sounded a bit bizarre and not exactly. And when I tried to do it like everyone else, I always felt as if I'm copying or I'm trying to be someone that I'm not. So it was really hard for me to be original or to find my originality within this specific genre. Up until I started experimenting with different beats. So I had one friend in music production college. He used to do hip hop, and we once been in his house, I remember, and he just asked me to do a hip hop beat for him. And I told him, look, man, I only have Psytrance sounds and sound effects in my studio, like I don't know what I can do for hip hop. Try, what do you care? He said. I said, okay, let's do it. And something really bizarre and nice came out of it. And I remember me thinking, man, I cannot compare this. It wasn't a whole track, but it was like a beginning of a new track. I cannot compare this music to anything I know, So I continued investigating this type of break beats. I don't know. I didn't know even any other artist that did something similar back then. So I just had no comparison whatsoever. And I suddenly found myself writing tracks in 2-3 days, like a whole tracks, 5, 6, 7 minutes tracks. And when I gave my friends a listen to one of those tracks, they were like fascinated. They were telling me, what is this that you're doing? It wasn't yet exactly the Symbolico vibe, but it was definitely going there. Okay. Yeah. And I remember when Ott released his album Mir, which affected my life very much. Yeah. So this is where I took the experimental vision that I had back in the days, and really from his music I learned more about softness, because before I just wanted to be like full on, but in different beats, like uplifting drops, And then with Ott's music, I learned to be softer. I learned to be more soft. And alongside Kales and Tilia's first albums, also I really like the vibe. It's like really loose and like good vibes. And together with an episode of Insights that had to do with my own personal evolution, I found that secret, again, that magical place that I found for the first time when I was 12 years old. So I regained that insight again, but in such a deeper way. Yeah. I felt that I have something so unique to share to the world. I had to share it with everyone else.
Of course, it has this thing, like it's a perfect representation of the difference between living life from outside in or from inside out. Like at the get-go, you're trying to create something that you already know exists from outside. Then you try to bring your outside surroundings in and then create something based on what you know. And then usually it's not really working because you don't have your unique point of view from it. And then when you shift your perspective and you bring the inside out, the Oron, the Symbolico, you don't know it's a Symbolico track yet, but you bringing your inside to the world, sharing your gift, allowing people to listen to what you have inside of you. That's how creators find their own voice, their own sound signature, which is again at the Symbolico project. There are no many tracks out there that you haven't made that sound like your own sound signature. And like, when was the first time you felt like, okay, it's shaping to the thing that I am? I can clearly see my vision through this art.
It happened around 2010, 2011, alongside those episodes of beautiful insights that I had in my life. It all happened together with a lot of also challenges, emotional challenges that I have passed. And one of the tools that actually helped me go through and transcend my own challenges was the ability to observe my own life, but not from the point of view of the hero of the story, rather from the point of view of the one who writes the script, right? Sometimes we call it the higher self, or we can give it many names, but I choose to call it Symbolico because from that point of view, life is really symbolic. Everything that you, like, for example, you can pass through like very beautiful times in your life, but then you can also pass through difficulties, challenges. You can feel frustrated and sad and depressed and angry and anxious. But when we look at the bigger picture, like the one who writes the script and see the whole story of your life, every life story is so beautiful. I never met a person or human that really shared his life with me and it wasn't beautiful.
Yeah.
Every life story is beautiful because everything happens so symbolic. You know, when you observe it from that point of view of the one who writes the script, of the one who sees the whole picture, you know?
Yeah.
So that understanding or that point of view, it gave me a lot of strength to go through my difficulties, and I really wanted to share that point of view. And the more I tried, the more that sound signature, that unique sound signature got developed, because I started treating my music production, my sound designs, in the same way that I treat my friends, my family, as if they are alive, you know. I gave them names, you know, those presets of synthesis that I used to do. I gave them names and they were like families, brothers and sisters. Also the tracks, you know, I treated them like my babies, you know, like my puppies, you know.
You were the first one, honestly, that I've seen treating, like I've watched as a younger producer, I watched your masterclass in BPM probably like 6 or 7 times earlier. I don't remember when it was, a couple of years back. And you were the first one ever to give me a perspective that like, oh, it's not only technical, it's not only like music creation. It's actually, if you treat it with the energy, with the respect that you give to your sounds, to your synthesis, to everything, it will bring a whole new layer of depth to the art that you're making. Were you always like in the music production world treating your art like those, like a family, like with those values? Because you're the first one I've seen doing it.
So obviously I wasn't conscious about what I was doing, you know. Sometimes when I write music in front of the computer, I'm like observing myself in the mirror, you know? So if I'm having difficulties in some sections of the production, it's always symbolically reflecting a difficulty that I have in my life, you know? And the more I understand my life, the better or the smoother my workflow is. So this is where I started noticing, okay, so I'm not just making beats and melodies and sounds to make people happy. I'm actually doing something deeper.
Yeah.
And then I really wanted to discover what is that deeper thing. And that was when I really started to notice that the more my worldview is shaping and refining, getting refined, the more unique of a sound signature I get.
Because it feels like when you treat it like you're curating an experience, or you're playing with energies, like, as a person that, like, you came here to play an ecstatic dance set, which is, I think, the greatest way to show people music and allow people to experience in your navigations, because it's not only like a Psytrance set or a bass set or whatever. You're going through the whole experience. So, like, you can curate a set, you can also curate a track. So do you have this visualization kind of vibe when you're going into a track? Do you see it based on the story, where it's going, where it's coming from? Like, do you have a road map that you had in your brain when you're producing music? Or do you let it just...
It's a tough question, because there are two kinds of energies that motivates me to write music. One is more passionate, so it's more like groovy, passionate, something simple and happy.
Yeah.
The other is more deep and emotional.
Yeah.
Two different motivations, and usually also the way I'm getting into the studio and writing the music, or even before developing the idea in my mind and in my heart, is different depending on those two vibes. But eventually in the dance floor, especially on ecstatic dance floors, I combine all kinds of music, whether it's the more deep and emotional and chill out, or it's the more uplifting, passionate, groovy,
Mm-hmm.
So each one of them I treat different, like the more emotional music, it comes to me in seasons, in those times that I'm feeling more emotional, and I always want to do the more passionate and groovy music, but I'm not always capable of. So when I'm seeing that it's not working for me, I'm trying to go into different projects that I'm working on in between, and then until it sinks, like, okay, I'm having more of an emotional time lately, and this emotional track that I started maybe a few weeks ago, that's more of my vibe right now,
And how does it feel? It's like going hand in hand with you being like also a DJ out there. Like, you came more from the studio or more from DJing?
I came from the studio, from music production. I learned to DJ only when I had enough music. And I wanted to present it, to create a presentation of my music. So I learned to DJ. Yeah.
And how did that feel?
Yeah, nowadays I have a lot of knowledge about, like, how to understand the dance floor, how to DJ. I can also make music editings and DJ and make playlists of different artists. Usually doesn't happen so too much, because when I'm asked to play, I'm usually asked to play my own music. But it is possible, and also within my own collection there is enough variety that I can work with to understand what a dance floor needs right now, and how can I be present and give the best I can give, that dance floor.
I know so many people that your music is in their library, and like, there is something, like, if I heard a couple of times that if you want to transcend from your normal state of being a human, you need to create something that is bigger than you. And I knew of your music way before I knew of you. And first of all, it resembles, the person and the energy and the music. They are so interconnected, which is like, it makes so much sense that this is the kind of music and this is the vibe that you are bringing now, knowing of you. But how does it feel becoming timeless? It's so hard for us to, say something like that about us. But for me, my perspective, I can say that some of your creations are timeless. I told you like a couple times already that I had a couple times in my life that your tracks got stuck in my mind for hours, for days. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. How does that feel, being like the guy that created something that will probably stay here after both of us?
To be honest, I have no words how to describe how grateful I am to be able to touch people in that way. And also, only hearing from you that you feel that now that you know me personally, my personality resembles my music, I believe that's the most incredible compliment an artist of any kind of art can receive. Because really deeply in my heart, I believe that the whole meaning of art is to be able to express outwardly our uniqueness, our inner uniqueness, our authenticity, right?
Yeah.
And that requires skills, okay? But skills are not enough. Like, many people have skills. But if you take your skills, or something you have very good skills, and you connect those skills with your own unique way of living, that by itself, it's a beautiful gift to the world. You know, I think that everyone can succeed in life doing what they love, especially if they develop a very good skill, and always remembering who they are, you know,
Yeah.
in the depths of their heart.
Let's get philosophical. How do you manage the delicate balance that is between the higher self, Symbolico, and Oron, the little innocent human that is just here to experience? Like, because this gap or spectrum can be so incredible. You know, Symbolico knows everything. He knows where we're going. Everything has a meaning. Everything is very fixated on exactly the right spot that it is in. But we're, as humans, we have doubts, we have fear, we have anxiety, we have depressions. How do you manage this relationship that you have with yourself and with this higher self that is Symbolico?
It is probably the most interesting question someone can ask me.
Well, guys, you heard it here first.
Because I don't manage.
Yeah.
It's really difficult, to be honest, you know, like, I'm learning every day how to manage, how to answer that question. And I hope that one day I will have a great answer for you. But for now, my best answer will be that in the past, I had a personal demand of myself to be as perfect as the vision that I have, that I call Symbolico.
Yeah.
And it's impossible, you know. I thought that one day, the more I will do what I love, I will get enlightened, and I will not suffer anymore, and I will help other people stop suffering at all, you know. And surprise, surprise, it's not working, at least for me, that easy. As if there is something in our pain, maybe pain is a better word than suffering, something in our pain which is very useful for the art that we do, or in other words, for the fruits that we give to the world.
Yeah.
So I stopped wishing for a utopic lifestyle. I stopped pretending that one day all of the problems will be solved.
Mm-hmm.
The opposite. I have only one wish for myself and anyone else included. I don't wish for us to get to that ideal, perfect human being that we can be.
Yeah.
Without any problems, without any pains,
It doesn't exist.
But what I do wish for us is to remember in those days that we suffer, that we are anxious, that we are frustrated, angry, that we will remember that when we are having those emotions, we are beautiful.
Yeah.
And we are doing a beautiful act, not knowing, unknowingly. We're doing a beautiful act, like poets, you know? We are unknowingly poets, Alan Watts used to say.
Yeah.
And I wish that we just remember that, or there will be some sort of observation in our back of our mind that will see ourselves while we suffer, while we are in pain, and we'll say, wow, bravo, what an act. So beautiful, So this is what I wish for,
It's so human of us to have this thought that like, yeah, I'm not gonna suffer an enlightenment and this and that. And like, but the more I have more and more experience in this reality, I think that the ones that can help others with their suffering are not the ones that does not suffer, but the ones that know their relationship with suffering. So at some point, like, you don't need to solve suffering in order to help others with theirs. You need to get used to suffering. You need to start love this aspect, because when we try to deflect things that happens inside of us, when we try to fight the ego, fight anxiety, fight depression, we are fighting alarms that are turning up in ourselves. And when I try to fight myself, who am I trying to win over? Myself. So I'm gonna lose either way. I think what we need more is a little bit more like to hug this part in ourselves, to be able to let it just flow out, to just something about society got us thinking that we need to suppress, that we need to deflect, that we need to keep the real things that we have in ourselves on the back end of the drawer. And I think it's kind of gone already, because 2024, 2025 is the year of change. It's the year of allowing ourselves to actually feel the things that we want to feel, and to be real with ourselves and with our loved ones. Because if we're not going to allow ourselves to be vulnerable and authentic and present, how can we expect someone to understand what we're going through?
I'm totally in agreement with you.
Yeah. And which gets me back to that. You wanted to make the music for a long time, and you made it, and you're performing and you're showing, and like, then you're coming to the bigger festivals, to the bigger stages like Ozora, like Boom, and you can feel the energy that you put inside your music. You can suddenly feel it coming back to you from the crowd of the people. It's like energy is eternal in our universe. It does not disappear. It just rolls to other places. So the energy that you put inside your music suddenly comes multiplied by 1,000, 100,000, whatever, back to you. How does that feel?
It feels great. Sometimes it can be even a bit overwhelming, I remember many times after gigs that a group of people are coming to speak with me, and I'm really thankful, for them. Their dream is to talk with me, but they don't realize that they are the one realizing my dream, Without those people, without the dance floor, without the people who admire my doing, my dream is not fulfilled, And it's really interesting conversations that I have with those people after my gigs or during or before, realizing that we are the same, even though they see me as some kind of an idol, but I see them as equal,
They are the other side of the coin.
Exactly. So yeah, in the beginning are those types of conversation that I really love and admire, but afterward, like another person and another person and another person expressing their gratitude and love. Sometimes it can be also a bit overwhelming, because it's like unbelievable, unbelievable. I just did what I love, I didn't expect to have such deep emotions and comments about it, people were sometimes like telling me stories that my music helped them heal from illnesses, and diseases, and their music helped them during birth, for example, like stuff like that. And I'm like, wow, like things I couldn't even imagine while I was making the music.
Yeah.
I just
this one is going to help someone through birth.
Yeah, so like each time like another person is sharing his emotions with me about my music, it's always like wow, like on the edge of being overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Like you cannot even know where, like how far the things that you create are going to go, because you have this kind of perspective on what you're doing, no problem. But someone else can look at it entirely differently, and it can mean the world to them. So if there's a message that we can take from this one is like, when you do something, just do it for the sake of doing it, and whatever meaning anyone else is going to take from it, it's kind of theirs. And it like, the one that is helping them heal through your music at the end of the day is them. They allow themselves to open up through your music, to allow themselves to heal themselves,
Exactly.
which makes them exactly as valuable for this coin that we're talking about, like you, like me, like us, no matter what we are doing. And also on that side of the relationship with the crowd and the fans, like there's always the other side also, because when you get to this kind of level, sometimes people look at you and think about the version that they have of you in their head.
That's exactly right. That's
Yeah,
exactly-
and sometimes there is a level of expectation, or I don't know, I don't want to call it demand, but whatever. Like, how do you deal with this side of things?
So part of the episode of insights that I had that led me to develop the vision of Symbolico from the first place was the realization that we are one entity, you know? Each one of us is a different activity. It's a unique activity of the same entity, which we all call life. You know, we are all living, right? And by itself, it's a nice concept. If anyone never experienced that concept, he would listen to me now and say, man, very philosophical. I like what you say. You know? But for me, that wasn't a concept back then. I experienced it so deeply. I realized that it's not a new understanding. It has always been that way. So understanding that we are all in this together, you know, we are all one life, one nature, life. It's easier to connect to one another and to stay humble, because I realize that me, as the one who, let's say, wrote the music, and him, the one who danced to it or listened to it passionately and, you know, influenced his own life, you know, we're doing it together, you know, like there is no actual difference. It's only a difference in appearance, symbolically. The difference is symbolic, and that's it, right? And that's beautiful for me, you know. And this helps me also to stay humble in my life, not because we need to stay humble, because sometimes people say you need to be humble. Why do we need to stay humble?
Yeah.
It's not that we need to, it's that you cannot not be humble when you realize that you and the rest is one entity.
Absolutely. It's exactly that. And like, I think that this, like, acting that we do as humans, that like, yeah, you need to stay humble in this. I think we're just so afraid of how actually powerful we are inside. And we are so afraid that like, we're kind of wasting time being these regular human beings and having our like regular jobs and doing things. Like, if we all just surrender to the enormous force of the universe and just let ourselves completely fall into whatever it is that it means to be a human, like in full spectrum of whatever it is, like life will just be so much better for all of us. And we just keep ourselves in those windows of comfort zone-ness, if I can say it like that, which is kind of, I don't know if it's a way of someone putting us in cages. I don't want to get into that, but it's just the moment you adapt and the moment you connect to the source of energy that the universe is able to just provide for you. And I know you mean what I'm talking. You understand what I'm talking about. The moment you connect to this kind of force, life seems like everything is happened for you. Nothing is coming against you. You will never have any challenge that you will not be able to go through because life happens for you. So why would life bring something on me that I cannot handle? So for the moment you change your perspective and you're like, oh, what is this challenge? How can I grow up from this? How can this make me better? How can this encounter with the person I had that I didn't like is going to make me better? We can stay humble, but in a way that like not to suppress who we really are or not to not show others that there's nothing wrong with being there for yourself. There is nothing wrong with putting out like, yeah, I'm fucking awesome. I know what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing. I'm doing it with my good heart, with good intentions. I don't want anyone to be hurt. So why wouldn't I celebrate being myself?
Yeah.
Like, I wish it was the anthem of being a human being. Just accept yourself. Allow yourself to just be yourself. Let life navigate you, like that. Your ego is a very good worker, but a very bad master.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment you can see those reminders inside yourself that tells you like, oh, I need to go there, I need to go. The more you listen to it, the better you get at it. Do you feel like, even separately from the music, as you're in your life as a human being, do you remember the time you started actually listening to yourself, navigating those feelings that come out of you, like understanding that your guts has something to them?
I remember when it started. I think this is the meaning of the word insight, when you begin to realize that the way you translate your own perceptions actually affect the result of your action, So it was very interesting to me to realize that I have more influence in life, on life, than what I thought I had.
Yeah.
I used to think that I'm just a creature, like walking in the world. And with time, or actually with evolution, I began to experience more the world is happening within me, or my unique perspective of the world is happening within me, And the more you begin to have this game of action and reaction, you realize that the moment you decide something, you acted already. And it's like a game, it's like a checkmate game between you and everything else that is not you, the rest, the world, the life, So the moment that you make a move, usually in that kind of game, the other side, the player that you're playing against, is making a move depending on the move that you made, right?
Yeah.
So there is a connection.
So like an ecosystem of energy, yeah.
So I started realizing this, that I'm making a certain move in my life and there is an effect, a specific effect relating to my move. So obviously there is a connection, right? There is a connection in that point of view. So the more I did that, I realized the true meaning of freedom, that, freedom, when we think about it, it's when you choose to, like you said, to understand that things is happening for me. But part of being free is also being able to choose that things are going against you. That it's part of being free, and there is nothing wrong with that, Only when things appearing as they are going against my will, and I believe that there is something wrong with that, this is where I suffer.
Exactly. Yes.
But things are going towards me or against me. It's simply a judgment. I don't know what is good or bad.
Yeah.
Good or bad are not things that exist in the real world.
Yeah.
These are personal judgments. What is good for me maybe is not good for my competitor.
It's not when it's getting subjective. then suddenly good and bad appear again. Because that's the reason reality exists, because in the grand scheme of things and the original source of creation, there is no duality in there. There's only what it is, pure golden bliss of love and vibrations or whatever it is. And I think we are coming here just to be able to experience this duality, suffering, all this kind of emotions, because it doesn't exist in the source. We come here, we explore ourselves, through others. We are able to bring more information back to the source, because every energy has like the exact same opposite source of energy to it. So no matter what kind of energy we produce here, be like negative energy sometimes, depression, anxiety, suffering, sadness, it has the opposite, the other side of the coin somewhere in the universe. So whenever something here happens that it involves suffering, depression, anxiety, the same exact energy on the other side is being created over there at the source, as I see it, with bliss, with love, with appreciation, with empathy. So there is no tree that can go to heaven if the roots doesn't go to hell.
Exactly.
So when you know that everything that you do is also producing the exact other side, how can life be anything less than perfect?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like embracing the duality is what makes you feel that life is perfect.
Yeah. Just understanding that the focus shouldn't be on whether I feel good or bad. The focus should be on how good am I surfing the waves of life and the waves of my heart and my soul. And as long as I remember that this too shall pass. And when I'm on the top, I'm definitely going to get back to the bottom. And when I'm on the bottom, yay for me, because I'm going to go back to the top, because that's the natural progression of life. And because we don't have a lot of time, I'm going to say that from the short time that I've met you and I got to see the being, like it feels like you're doing one thing, it's like you're doing everything. You have the same exact emotion coming out in everything, through your music, through your life-to-life basis with humans, through the hummus that we'll talk a little bit about. Like everything seems like it's all surrounding around love, about hospitality, about connection. And what is the next step? Like, how many more ways do you have to portray this kind of vibe that is like this fulfillment, this bliss, this, how many more gifts are you going to give us and how are they going to look?
I don't know,
Yeah.
to be honest. Like, as you mentioned, beside music, I also love making food, particularly hummus. I'm well known as a hummus lover and a maker.
We got to try it. It was fucking beautiful.
And there are more ways for me to express creative force and love. But I think that truly my deepest wish is to find the common language between all of those branches, because I really believe that life is like a tree, rather if it's my individual life or life as a whole. The tree trunk is where I'm looking from, my point of view.
Yes.
The roots are my values. They are like underneath the ground. And the branches are those interests that I have in my life. So one of them is music, other one is hummus, another one will be my home, other one will be my mobility, other one will be my business, my family, my friends, my romance. All of those are interests. All of those are connections from the heart to the heart, in a form of fruits, right, that we give to the world. So I can focus on one branch at a time, but really my deepest wish is to always see the connection between all of those branches. So the more I make music, the better the hummus will be.
Yeah, exactly.
And the better friendship I will have with people, and the better home, more convenient home I will have, better mobility I will have, better business my business will function more accurately, more refined, right? Because I don't want to focus on one thing, because you know that feeling when you're focusing on one thing, you're neglecting other things, other interests.
Like you say, those moves that you're doing.
Yeah. So one way for me to not have any neglection of any interest of my life is to really find the common language of the whole tree, you know, and focus on that. That way it helps me deal with perfectionism and like the need for things to happen in a certain way. I still have those needs to be like
humans.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this is my main focus, like to find the common ground, the common language of all of my interests.
Yeah, this answer is making me super happy, because the one thing that is connecting between all the branches that you talk about is the fact that they're all your branches. And I am sure that we're going to see a lot more of you in so many different aspects of life, because when you say, like you said, that, yeah, to express love through different things is still an expression of love. So if music, food, mobility, your home, whatever it is an expression of what's the core value of your heart is, the core value of your heart is love. And as long as this is the root, it cannot bring any fruits other than love. You know, because it is what it is. And I want to thank you so much for this one, bro. It was short, but I'm so glad we got to do it. I'm so happy I got to meet you, and I'm so happy to call you my friend, man. I'm sure we're going to do a lot more good things together.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for this, bro.
Thank you too, man. And wait for part 2.
Yeah, it is coming. It is coming. We have a lot more. KohPhanCast, guys.
Join the journey, stay for a while.